Rejection, it's one of those words that can stir something in us, a sinking feeling, a tightening in the chest, a sense that we've been cast out, left behind, found lacking. It's one of the most painful emotional experiences we can have, and yet most of us don't question it. We assume that if someone turns away, criticizes us, ends a relationship, or doesn't respond the way we'd hoped, that we've been rejected. But what if rejection isn't what we think it is? What if the feeling is real, but your interpretation is incorrect? What if the entire experience of being rejected is actually rooted in something much deeper, much older, and much less personal than we assume? So let's start here. No one can reject you if they don't truly know you. If someone walks away from a version of you that they've projected onto an idea, an assumption, a filtered impression, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting that image. And that image may have little to do with who you really are. People reject what they see. And often what they see in you is shaped by their own internal narrative, their own fears, their own expectations, their own wounds. If they haven't taken the time to know your truth, your depth, your complexity, how can they possibly reject you? And even when someone does know you more deeply, what we often experience as rejection is rarely neutral. It's usually what we call a projection. That is something the other person can't bear in themselves, they unconsciously assign to you. Maybe they haven't faced their own vulnerability, so they label yours as weakness. Maybe they carry shame around neediness, so they criticize you for having emotional needs. Maybe they were never allowed to express anger, so when you express yours, they shut you down. That's projection. Their disowned psychic material becomes your burden. But let's be honest, even knowing this, it still hurts. It hurts because it taps into something old. When someone withdraws or disapproves or criticizes, it echoes a much earlier wound in us, the child in us, the inner child. Here's that familiar message again. You're not enough. You're unlovable. You've done something wrong. And then the inner critic also steps in, loud, sharp, relentless. It says, see, this always happens. You're too much. You're not wanted. You should have been quieter, better. You should have been more agreeable. The pain of rejection isn't just about someone else walking away. It's about the part of you that believes it means something about your worth. But here's the thing. That belief that you're unworthy, or that belief that you're unlovable or broken, is the real rejection. And it's coming from inside you, not from the person who left, but from the part of you that agrees with them. That's the real wound. The way we reject ourselves. Most of us carry old messages from childhood. Of course we do. We were given direct or indirect signals that we had to behave a certain way to be accepted. We had to earn love by being quiet, or by being helpful and compliant or selfless. And if we ever stepped outside of that, we felt the withdrawal of affection or approval. So we adapted. We learned to self-reject before anyone else could do it. But what if that belief, that core negative belief of being unworthy is simply not true? What if it's not a reflection of who you are, but of what you were told? What if those messages weren't yours to begin with, that they belonged to someone else? This is where healing begins, by recognizing that your sense of being rejected is not about your actual value, but about a dynamic playing out between your wounded inner child and your overprotective inner critic. The child feels abandoned. The critic rushes in to protect you from ever feeling that again, but it does so by telling you that you're the problem. That if you could just be better, this wouldn't happen. And that's the psychological trap. You were never meant to be perfect. None of us are. In fact, if you were perfect, there'd be no room for growth, no space for connection, no reason for the human journey at all. You're here to learn, to stretch, to grow, to encounter differences, and to sometimes experience the pain of not being met. That's not failure, it's part of the path of life. When someone doesn't see you clearly or doesn't choose you, that isn't proof that you are unworthy. It's information about them and about the dynamic between you. It may hurt, yes, but it doesn't define you. You don't have to carry someone else's projections. You don't have to internalize every dismissal or silence. And you certainly don't have to keep rejecting yourself just because someone else did in the past. Every time you feel that sting of rejection, you're being given an invitation to come back to yourself, to notice the belief that's being triggered, to ask, is this true? Or is this an old story I've outgrown? You're entitled to your voice, your truth, your presence. You're allowed to be who you are, fully, imperfectly, and unapologetically. And the more you show up for yourself in those tender moments, the less you'll need others to validate your worth. So the next time you feel rejected, pause, breathe, and ask yourself not why don't they want me, but what am I so quick to turn on myself? Then respond differently. Be kind to yourself. Be curious. Be loyal to your truth. Because in the end, it's not the world's rejection that defines us, it's our own. And when we stop rejecting ourselves, we become truly free. If you'd like help to finally stop rejecting yourself, get in touch. Visit my website and book a free discovery call, and let's see what's possible.